sharing in that moment. But take us through it. I mean, first of all, to break the school record and pop a throw like that on your last throw of the finals, that's like a dream come true as a javelin thrower, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was amazing. It was the final throw of prelims, and I had started a slow clap at the last home meet, and I PR'd on that. And it was my last throw in prelims, so I was like, well, maybe I start a slow clap. I don't know. Sometimes it kind of sketches me out to do that. I don't want to jinx anything, but I was like, I still have finals left, so I might as well do this. And I just did it, and I just felt the energy from it and was able to do it. Everything just felt like it came together so well in throwing. That's kind of how it goes. The best throws feel like they're the easiest, and that's how it was. As soon as I released it, I knew it was good, but it wasn't until I saw it land where it did that I was like, oh, that's a little bit more than good, and got really excited because it was just kind of felt like the last year had just culminated into this one moment, and I was going to make the most of it, and that's kind of how I went into it, and I think that's what I got out of it. And I've went through this last year with my teammates. They've been right along my side this whole entire time, so I think they felt that with me in that very exact moment. In fact, my two best friends on the team afterwards, you can see them in the video, they hug afterwards. So I just think the throw spoke for everyone, and the feelings that it felt like to be competing this year and everything we've went through in the last year, and to be at a Big Sky Conference championship. And I don't know, it just felt like everything came together all at once, and I'm super, super grateful that it did.
Hey, Carly, Shaun, Rainey here. Yeah, you talk about the slow clap. That's almost kind of like the Babe Ruth, calling your shot, because you can't have a bad throw after you start your own slow clap there.
Yeah, I usually let my coaches start it for me. I'm a little bit more timid about it, but at that point I was like, well, if I'm going to start one, I have to start it for myself, because my coach was on the other side of the runway, and so I was like, dang, I'm going to really have to commit here. I'm so glad I did, though.
What's it like kind of representing Plains and, obviously kind of small town Montana, and kind of putting Plains on the map a little bit here?
Oh, man, it's awesome, honestly, mainly because of how much it means to me and all of the kids there that are still there, and the kids that I grew up with. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around the great big world out there when you grow up in kind of a small community in a small town in Montana. And so being able to do what I've done and put in the work that I've done, and really believe in myself to the best ability that I have, and have it pay off like this, I think it just kind of sends a message back home saying anybody can do this. You just your biggest limit is yourself, and just to believe in yourself. So I think I really focus on that, and being a role model in that way, not even just in my success, just with how I carry myself, and just instilling that sense of belief within people who might grow up in small towns, might grow up with constrained opportunities, and just saying don't stop believing, because you'll get there.
Carly Von Heater joining us. She's a Montana State champion javelin thrower, the Big Sky Conference champion in the women's javelin, and will compete in the NCAA West Regional this weekend. It's our Garden City Spotlight, presented proudly by Dr. Gene Morris and Oral Surgical Associates. At what point did you realize that you had a special talent for javelin, Carly?
I actually threw turbo jab. It's those little short plastic jab-looking things in middle school, and I won a bunch of little middle school meets with it. But I honestly didn't like running very much, and so I wasn't planning to do track in high school. And my mom, she was a triple jumper in college, and so she was like, you have to try it for 1 year. That was her little saying that she gave me, and I tried it for 1 year and ended up being really successful. They were like, here, try some events. They kind of threw me around, and I tried jab, and it just kind of came naturally to me. And jab's such a strange motion that when it comes naturally to someone, I think a coach is able to realize that and say, oh, there might be something here. And I won state my freshman year of high school, and just kind of let that carry me through.
Take us through just the training regimen of these last several years, because that's another thing about track and field that's so fascinating is if you're a distance runner, for example, you can have 3 different seasons of track and field within a given academic year, whether it's cross country or indoor or outdoor. Whereas on the opposite side of the spectrum, javelin, it's only outdoor, right? And so how are you able to stay sharp? Because, I mean, not having any sort of outdoor competition for so long, that must have been really tough. Yeah. But obviously you put in enough work to become a champion. So just take us through sort of what you did to stay focused and stay sharp.
Yeah. It's tough. I'm not going to lie. There's some days that things start to get really frustrating and you watch your teammates compete indoors and you're sitting there and all you feel is like that antsiness, anxious, anxiety to compete. But I think what helps a lot is we have a great weight room environment at MSU. My teammates and I, we go in and we work out at the same times, and it's a super high intensity competitive environment where everyone's cheering each other on, everyone's loud, the music's playing loud, and you kind of like are able to find competition within the weight room in the off season. And so I think that's like a huge part of being able to maintain that competition mentality when I have not been in season. But other than that, we just do a lot of reps indoors, and throwing is a lot of mentality and mentally based. And so during that indoor season, it kind of gives us some time to mentally prep for outdoors and just put in the time on that aspect of things.
You won state as a freshman. I'm always curious with people from like smaller towns. Like, do you think, because obviously kids that go to like AA and stuff, they might have more resources and things like that. But a small town, sometimes there might not be stuff to do. So you're just kind of, doing it more often. And you lost to a teammate, it says, right, your senior year. And so you had two of you that were pretty good. So like, are you just after school, not much to do in playing, so you were just hucking the jab along a lot to improve? Like, what's the background there?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say I put in an outstanding amount of time in the off season or anything in high school into javelin, but definitely at practice, I gave my all out there, and also I have to thank one of my coaches. He had retired as a javelin coach, and as soon as I started to succeed my freshman year, he came in and he kind of like took me under his wing and taught me the way of javelin and just kind of like educated me on it, and was a great influence on me. And he actually just passed away this past year, and so that has been something that has been motivating me also, because I would say that he has been a huge part of my success thus far.
Well, let's talk about the here and now. Obviously, an awesome accomplishment for you to win the Big Sky Conference Championship, but work left to be done. You are down in Texas getting prepared for the NCAA West Regional, and this is the spot that athletes on the Big Sky aspire to be to. They aspire to get to this exact moment. So what are you doing to sort of stay mentally engaged this week? And what do you think of this opportunity you have to throw with some of the best throwers in all of collegiate track and field?
Yeah, that part of things is amazing, to be able to compete at this level and see all of these athletes. But I think that my motto all season, this has been just kind of a season that has been given to me as an extra, I feel like, with the pandemic and everything. And my motto all season has just been to be present in the moment, really just like addressing things as they come, not addressing them as I fear them, and staying away from that anxiety that comes with worrying about the unknown and everything that we've been through this past year. That's something that I've learned to cope with like pretty well. And so I think that just my motto all season has been to enjoy myself and be present and celebrate my successes and learn from my failures. And I'm not really changing anything going into this meet. I'm just going to go into it confident and just ready to have fun and do my best.
Tell us the schedule, because the heat sheets are just all over the place. So when is the actual women's javelin this weekend?
Yeah, so it starts tomorrow at 12:30, but I'm in the third flight, and that is at 2:55 Montana time.
So 2:55. So we will have an update for everybody around the great state of Montana here on Nuanez now for all of you after Carly Von Heater throws in the women's javelin, the third flight of the women's javelin at the NCAA West Regionals. Carly, I can't tell you how much fun that video is of you breaking the school record. I've watched it a million times. I love it. It's one of the best parts about track and field because when you get the mark, you know it right away, and you can celebrate it right away. I mean, it was cool even over at the track when the kid from Eastern Washington, Parker Bowden, broke the hurdles record. He saw the time, and he just broke down in tears because he just couldn't believe it. Super cool. That's what makes track and field so great. But from us here at ESPN Missoula, as well as everybody around the great state of Montana, very proud of you, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us here on Nuanez Now.
Thank you so much.
It's our Garden City Spotlight presented by Dr. Gene Morris of Oral Surgical Associates. Getting your wisdom teeth out is just a part of life. If you need it done, I promise you, it's going to make your life a million times better if you go to an oral surgeon. They will be way more gentle, way more detailed. You're going to heal up quicker. You don't have to worry about the dry sockets or any of that stuff. They'll give you the nice medicine, and you're going to be good to go. So if you or someone in your family got a teenager or somebody needs to get that done, call up Dr. Gene Morris at Oral Surgical Associates, the proud presenter each week of the Garden City Spotlight, highlighting some of the best athletes from around the western side of the state of Montana, particularly here in the Garden City. We got wings for you, so keep it right here. We'll tell you how to win them right after this. 102.9 ESPN Missoula.
Runners, to your mark. Set.
Some may see a sprinter. At the NFHS, we see a future leader already off to the races. Some may see a volleyball player.
Good hit! Way to go, girls! Woo!
At the NFHS, we see a spike in confidence that will help her achieve her potential. What else do we see? Musicians learning to march to their own beat. We're the NFHS, the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and activities in America, helping today's teenagers develop the skills they need to become tomorrow's leaders. And we see it happening in communities across Montana every single day. Learn more about the NFHS commitment to youth at nfhs.org. This message presented by the NFHS, the National Federation of State High School Associations.
Garden City Paint and Glass is proud to offer a huge variety of high-quality paints and stains at affordable prices, like C2 Paints, Dunn & Edwards, and Prolux Seekin Paints. These brands offer you great quality and great prices. The trained staff at Garden City Paint and Glass will help you with the right colors and tools to get your project right. Visit GardenCityPaintandGlass.com for more information or give them a call at 549-0608. Garden City Paint and Glass, locally owned and serving Montana for over 30 years.
Oh, I love family road trips. The wind in my ears.
Good dog.
Treats in my mouth. And peace of mind, knowing we went to Les Schwab for our tires, brakes, and alignment. If we had gone to one of those cheap tire stores that don't offer those services, I'd be a doggone wreck. Like Les Schwab, my family's safety is my first priority. Well, that and treats, obviously.
Swing by or book online. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Hey, it's Colter Nuanez from Nuanez Now. I'm here with Brent Wahlberg of the Wahlberg team at Windermere Real Estate. And Brent, you guys have been the official realtors of Grizz Athletics for quite some time. What most do you like about supporting the Grizz in Missoula?
Born and raised here in Missoula. I grew up 2 blocks off campus. A lot of us Montana kids were growing up on weekends in the fall. You're out in the woods hunting. I was sitting in Dorm Blazer and then Washington Grizzly Stadium watching the Grizz. I grew up with Grizz in my blood. It's just a wonderful part of our community and happy to be a part of it.
Give the Wahlberg team a call today, 529-4663.
Be a part of one of Missoula's biggest and best card shows to date. The Missoula Sports Cards and Collectibles Show will be held Saturday, June 12th at the Commercial Building on the Missoula Fairgrounds from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. James Spence and JS Authentication, the premier authentication company in the country, will be on site all day. Admissions for patrons and buyers is free, and up to 50 vendor tables will be offered, presented by Zootown Sports Cards. The Missoula Sports Cards and Collectibles Show is still accepting vendors, so call 493-6665 today.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio with special guest Shaun Rainey.
Get back, Joe. She was a woman, but she was another man. All the girls around me say
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Hope you're having an awesome afternoon. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. It's Nuanez now. I'm Coulter Nuanez. It's 102.9 ESPN Missoula, or statewide around the great state of Montana. SWX Montana Television. Shaun Rainey from SWX Montana is joining me in studio as he does each and every Wednesday. And it's a Wing It Wednesday, which means we got free wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. A dozen wings for you to go enjoy yourself. Despo's a great place to go watch the NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs is rolling right now, so even if you don't win the wings, go have yourself some wings. They are the best in the city of Missoula, and you can go enjoy yourself some wings, some beer. 3 NBA playoff games on tonight, so head on down to Desperado and go check out all the action. They also, great place to watch baseball and hockey, too. One of the best hockey bars in all of Missoula as well. So go head on down to the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. What do you got to do to win the wings? Well, we're making it easy today. All you got to do is call us right now, 888-1029. That's 406-888-1029. Caller number 4. We got a dozen wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. A text from a listener. Yesterday we were talking about best baseball movies. I was saying The Sandlot.
Just watched that with my kids for the first time.
Okay, we got to talk about this. What is that life experience like? Because that just must be so fun.
It's awesome
to watch one of your childhood movies with your kid,
especially when you haven't watched the movie in years.
Right.
It was hilarious when Squints kissed
Wendy Peppercorn.
Wendy Peppercorn for the first. He's sitting in front of me and he just turns with the biggest mouth open, like, oh, and I'm just like, it was just hilarious. And like the Beast, we had to he was just sitting, just waiting to see what the Beast was. And it was, we watched that. And then a couple weeks ago, we watched Little Rascals. So just watching all these movies, but especially The Sandlot and some of these sports movies for the first time, Space Jam and stuff. It's awesome.
A text from a listener that was listening yesterday, obviously. The best baseball movie is The Perfect Game. I'm not sure I've seen that before.
It's solid. I mean,
we were sort of arguing between Sandlot and Field of Dreams. Were kind of our top two.
Major League is
and Major League was our third.
See, but my favorite, this is going to be a different answer. My favorite baseball movie, hands down, is Moneyball.
Moneyball's good.
I love Moneyball.
Have you read the book?
I have not.
It's a great book. Michael Lewis is an awesome author.
I don't really read books. What
an admission to make on live radio.
No, here's the thing. So schedule-wise, because I'm either working or I'm
doing
dad
duty.
Stuff.
Sure,
so
I get it.
I don't know when I ever would read. The only time I would ever read is when I get home from work at 11:30, but by then my eyes are too tired to read. So I don't ever have time to really read a book.
You're an exercise bike guy, right? Don't you ride the bike sometime? Or you're more of a jogger. You're more of a jogging guy.
Yeah, I can't be on a stationary thing.
You can't be stationary.
I got to chase a ball around.
That's why I'm like a
dog.
I actually find it fascinating that you sit for most of the show because you're at one of the most busy-bodied people I know.
It's because usually I play hoops at 6 a.m. on Wednesdays,
so
my legs are pretty tired.
Yeah. I see. That's amazing.
I can't believe I've got to say this.
I can't either. I'm waiting with bated breath, Tommy.
The best baseball movie in all of history comes to us from Richard Pryor and John Candy in the form of Brewster's Millions.
I have no clue about this. I know who Richard Pryor is and John Candy for sure, but
you got to watch it right now. Let's cancel the show and go watch this right now.
Okay.
Greatest show ever.
I have a couple things to fully take us down the rabbit hole here. This is actually funny. My sister-in-law texted me today, and her question of the day was, name 3 perfect films that you thought were made perfectly. It's actually funny. I said The Sandlot. I think The Sandlot is it's a wonderful movie. It is so well made. Mm-hmm. The kid acting is great. It's not raunchy or crude. But it's funny no matter if you're 5 or 50.
Yeah, the best part was when the Sandlot crew, and then you had the bikers with the uniforms on.
Mm-hmm.
The rich kids came up and they started having the trash talk back and forth, and my 4-year-old was like, "That's kind of rude."
I used the Hamilton Porter. It's going to be a short game. Yeah. Boys, it's going to be a short game. I got to make it home for lunch. I used that line growing up as a kid my whole life.
And it's also funny. I've told my 6-year-old all the time, when he's struggling to put his shoes on or something. Like I'm like, you're killing me, Smalls. And he never knew what that was. And then he watched the movie. He's like, you say that all the time, Dad.
I love it. Tommy or Shaun, we go Shaun first. What are some well-crafted movies, or what are your perfect films?
Ooh, man. I'm okay. So I'm more of a like in my lifetime movie guy.
Sure.
Like I'm not a big like.
That's how you operate in life. What do you mean?
It is.
You don't know any trivia questions from before you were born. You don't know anything that happened before you were born.
Before I was born. No, it really didn't.
Well, the good news is you're going to keep getting older, so that will expand the amount of.
But I am a movie guy.
You know.
Like I've watched a lot, like from my life and past.
Sure.
I have watched a ton of movies. Like my favorite movie of all time is The Departed.
It's a good movie.
I think that's
Martin Scorsese. Excellent.
I think that is my the script, the acting. I love The Departed. I also like that's kind of my favorite genre of movie. So The Departed is my favorite.
Text from a listener. They claim that besides Major League, that The Rookie is the best baseball movie of all time.
It's
It's okay. It's pretty good.
There's a couple. I think it's The Rookie though that I can't. It is The Rookie, I believe.
The Rookie's Dennis Quaid. Is that what I'm thinking of? Yeah.
But like in that movie, every time he throws the ball, they do like a rocket ship sound effect when the ball's like he's like whoosh, and like once you hear it for the first time, I couldn't get over it. It just like was so distracting.
You guys ready for my Dennis Quaid story before we talk about Tommy's perfect films?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I actually don't know how much of this story I can actually tell on the radio. Screw it, we're doing it. My parents, when we moved to Missoula in 1993, the house that they purchased and then the house that I subsequently grew up in, Andy McDowell lived in that house before. She did not own the house. She was renting that house while she was building her big estate out in 9 Mile. Andy McDowell, for our younger listeners, was at a moment in time one of the most famous actresses in America. She had, in the early to mid 90s, one of the great runs of films. She was in movies like Michael and Phenomenon and Sex, Lies, and Videotapes and Four Weddings and a Funeral. And she was also the cover girl for L'Oreal makeup line when that was the makeup line that all the gals were wearing. So she's a very famous model and actress. For those that don't know who that is, I don't know really how you wouldn't. She's very famous. But people that know about her know that she has strong ties to Montana, and her son, Justin, was one of my good buddies in college. He went to school here and is still a good friend of mine. But then Dennis Quaid ended up dating Andy McDowell. And so then when that movie was being made, The Rookie, he was around Missoula all the time. And so there was some funny feelings about from the people I knew from her circles about Dennis Quaid. So here nor there, but Dennis Quaid does have strong connections to Montana.
I got a text.
You got a text. Okay, let's go.
From Scott Schwartz.
Okay.
Your buddy. He says Bull Durham.
Bull Durham's a good one.
Yeah. I got to go. Yeah. Sandlot, Moneyball, and Major League. Those are my top.
Those are your baseball movies.
Yep.
Tommy, how about just movies in general? What is your perfectly curated movie list? What are the 3 perfect films?
The 3 perfect films, and this is an inarguable thing. This is fact. This is not opinion-based.
Okay.
The number 1 best movie ever made in all of history is Superbad. Now, if you laugh all you want, but man,
it is good.
I think we're going. I think you're teeing me up for like The Godfather or Legends of the Fall, Dances with Wolves. No,
those movies all suck. Put on Step Brothers, and then and you'll laugh. But put on Superbad, and it is the most timeless, iconic movie in all of history.
You don't know this about me, Tommy. I hate comedies.
You are a psychopath.
I can kind of see that though. I can kind of see Coulter not.
It's not that I don't. I shouldn't say hate. That's a wrong word. I would. That's a very slim chance that I would spend and or waste my time watching something that doesn't have any substance.
The thing about you is that I just think you define comedy differently than the masses. Where I like slapstick. Like if you fell down, I would.
I think
I'm the opposite. I don't like slapstick, but I like Superbad's not really slapstick.
You want to know what I think's funny?
Right. What?
You burning your house down. Ryan Tutel trying to walk. Those things are funny. Shaun throwing his club across the fairway because he just hit a horrible shot on the golf course. That's what I think.
I haven't done that in a while.
Shaun has been working on his temper on the golf course.
Calm down since I've become a dad.
The greatest tweet of Shaun Rainey's media career. was when he was analyzing Bryson DeChambeau for freaking out over errant wedge shots. And I was like, Shaun, this is you. You are him.
Broken a club or two.
It happens. Nuanez now, 102.9 ESPN, Missoula. Okay, so here's my answer that I gave to my sister, though, was The Godfather 2, Apocalypse Now, Black Swan, and The Sandlot. 4 perfectly curated and perfectly made films. Have you seen any of those, Tommy?
Random.
I've seen a couple. What I realize we're up against it. We can go on about this, but I have a list, and every time someone asks me if I've watched a film, I put it on the list.
Let's go.
And I haven't. I'm up to 168 now because of The Departed that Shaun referenced. I hadn't seen that either. That's
you
not on my list.
Seen that?
Oh,
no,
wow.
I haven't.
Wow.
Well, you have to remember that Tommy was born very recently, so
I'm getting my driver's license next week, Walter.
And soon you'll be able to see over the steering wheel.
Yeah, maybe.
Movies worth watching, movies worth remembering. Plus, what does the in-state recruiting battle really mean? Does winning it really equal success in the state of Montana for the Grizzlies and the Bobcats? And where are we at with the way it's played out over the last 5 years? That'll be the subject of our ESPN Roundtable. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming at you hot. Nuanez now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Blaine McElmurray knows what you can achieve through hard work as an athlete from a small town in Montana. The Troy native rose up to become an All-American safety for the Grizzlies on UM's 95 National Championship team before spending time playing in the NFL. McElmurray has also used those values in his work at McElmurray Homes. Since 2003, McElmurray Homes has helped contract and subcontract some of the Garden City's finest housing. McElmurray Homes is committed to offering quality custom service, quality products, and the best prices throughout any project. And McElmurray Homes is also a proud supporter of high school athletes around the state of Montana.
Ready to step up your hair game, but just not quite sure where to go? Well, look no further than Compass Barbershop, a modern barbershop for everyone, where they can help you find a style that's right for you. They offer precision scissor cuts and fades in a unique and inclusive atmosphere. Compass Barbershop has it all, including convenient online booking at compassbarber.com, or you can just stop by any day of the week. You can also check out Compass Barbershop on Facebook or Instagram. Find your way to Compass Barbershop, downtown on the Hip Strip, at the corner of modern and retro.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
At the Montana Club, our goal is to create a menu of mouth-watering food with variety to satisfy any craving. From the garden-fresh ingredients in our salads to our succulent, perfectly grilled Montana Club Angus steaks, we take pride in every detail that goes into preparing your food. Top off your meal with a premium cocktail, wine, or microbrew. Come as you are and satisfy your craving with our home-style breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support. Brought to you by the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Deming twins have found a new home, while the Lady Grizz have a new Division I transfer. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. Bryson Deming and Braden Deming, a pair of redshirt juniors who prepped at Billings West before playing 2017, 2018, and 2019 seasons at Montana, have declared they're transferring to Illinois State. Bryson, Montana's starting tight end in 2019, caught 18 passes for 195 yards and 3 touchdowns in UM's last fall season on the gridiron. Braden, a 6'4", 258-pound defensive lineman, notched 2.5 sacks and 4.5 tackles for loss while cracking the defensive line rotation for the Grizz Grizz in 2018 and 2019. Illinois State's coaching staff includes former Grizz coaches Brian Hendricks, who coaches defensive line, and Travis Niekamp, who is the defensive coordinator. Hendricks coached Braden his first year at Montana, while Niekamp was Bryson's position coach when Bob Stitt was UM's head coach. Former Montana strength and conditioning coach Matt Nicholson is also part of Illinois State head coach Brock Spack's staff. The Montana women's basketball program has added a transfer from East Carolina. Katrina Tazinski, a 5'9" guard who played for the Pirates for 2 seasons, signed a scholarship agreement to join a team looking to fill as many as 8 roster spots after the hiring of new head coach Brian Holsinger. And finally, the Missoula Paddleheads moved to 3-0 on the young season, earning a sweep of the Great Falls Voyagers after taking both games Monday's doubleheader. For more on the game, tune into Nuanez now at 4 p.m. on ESPN Missoula. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope everybody's enjoying themselves. Looks like a fine day here in the great state of Montana. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. It's Nuanez now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Maybe watching in SWX Montana Television. Appreciate you for doing it, no matter how you're tuning into the show. You want to be involved in the show. We got the text and the call line cooking, which is very fun. 888-1029. 406-888-1029. You can call us or text us if you want to be involved in any of the conversations of all the things that we are talking about. Shaun Rainey from SWX Montana Television is joining me, Colter Nuanez, in studio, as Shaun does each and every Wednesday. Maybe a little bit more here in upcoming weeks as well. But we got to get through this upcoming weekend because this is kind of the finale, right? This is the weekend of the academic calendar and the athletic calendar that we are always trying to get to. But it'll be a big weekend around Western Montana, particularly. The Class AA State softball tournament is up in Kalispell, and Missoula Sentinel and Kalispell Glacier among the favorites in that tournament. So that'll be fun to monitor that from the Western Montana side of things. And the Class AA State AA and C track meets are here in Missoula as well. So that'll be fun to finally have an outdoor track meet here in Missoula, state track meet for the first time in a little while that it's been here. So you guys got big coverage plans probably for this weekend.
Yeah, it is our anniversary.
Oh yeah, you got anniversary plans too.
10-year anniversary.
I can't believe you've been married for 10 years.
I know, it's crazy.
You're like hardly just started shaving.
Yeah, so we're going to...
How old were you when you got married? 21? 22?
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Graduated, got married right after. So we're going to Coeur d'Alene, going to do a little golfing, going to hang out. And it's going to be the first weekend without kids in a minute. So
years.
That's going to be enjoyable.
Well, you guys are all such strong endorsers for my future of maybe wanting to have children, because you guys all make it sound just so fun.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's obviously great. But
you actually have a more positive attitude about it than most people have, and I do appreciate that about you.
It's funny. I was going to take my youngest to Mismo today, and my wife was like, I was like, is it all right if I go? She's like, I don't. If he gets sick and it ruins this weekend, then I'm going to be really mad. I was like, that's actually a good point. And so we just stayed home.
Smart wife, man. Yeah. We're going to get to our ESPN Roundtable here in a minute, talking some in-state recruiting, but just a couple more thoughts on our movies conversation from the first hour. By the way, if you missed anything in the first hour, a fun first hour. Talked a lot of great NFL talk. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Julio Jones, Tim Tebow. We also heard from Carly Van Heater. She is the Big Sky Conference champion in the women's javelin and an upcoming participant in the NCAA West Regional. And also had some fun talking some movies. What are the perfect films, the perfectly crafted films, and not just your favorites, but the ones that are the most well-made, the ones that are the most timeless. And we shared some of our thoughts. You can find all of the first hour on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Nuanez, that'll get you there. Rate, review, subscribe. 5 stars is certainly preferred. Blackfoot Communications, Sportsbet Montana, and the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel, the proud presenters of the Nuanez Now podcast. A text from a listener Tombstone and Shawshank Redemption, 2 perfect movies, and The Natural is the best baseball movie, says the listener. Thanks so much for that feedback.
Shawshank is really good.
Shawshank's a good movie. Tombstone's good. If you are a Tombstone fan, then you should watch The Unforgiven. The Unforgiven, in my opinion, is the greatest Western movie of all time. I actually believe it is the only Western movie to ever win an Academy Award for Best Picture. So Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood is an amazing film. Tom, you seen that one? That might need to go on your list.
Now, I'm not answering another question from you because I still haven't answered the last 3 you asked.
Okay, well, fill me in.
My number 1 movie.
Okay. Behind Superbad, or this is including Superbad?
This is number 1, Superbad. Number 2, next in line is like the next best, but it's not Superbad. Dazed and Confused.
Man.
Matthew McConaughey's breakout role. You know, all right. Party at the Moon Tower. Iconic movie. Number 3, for me, is Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams.
Very good movie.
One of the great films.
Have you seen Good Will Hunting, Tommy?
Nope.
Wow, you need Good Will Hunting in your life.
I know it's a reference to
Of course I've seen Good Will Hunting.
Good. Yeah, you would love Good Will Hunting, Tommy. You actually might be Will Hunting.
I don't know what that means.
You are the kid that's like working as the janitor at the college, but you're actually smarter than all the professors. That's you. I had this. Wow, this is actually crazy. You are Will Hunting. You got the Matt Damon hair flip and everything.
How would you rank like top 3 like types of movies? Because you said you don't like comedy.
Well, so I have an issue where pretty much anything that I'm going to spend my non-working time, which is very little because I am a workaholic, on, I want it to make me feel some sort of way. And there's a better chance that a movie's going to make me feel disturbed, sad, or put out than it is going to make me happy. It's a flaw in my personality. But I love dark movies, or movies that really pull on the comprehension of what it means to be human, or the evils or darkness that exists among humans.
So like murder, you like thriller, murder
kind of
mystery.
Sure. I mean,
It's like Seven
is one of my favorite movies for sure. The Fountain comes to mind as a movie I really enjoy.
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. But more movie. I'm a big film guy. Like, I like it to be a film, not a movie. I don't want a blockbuster with special effects. I don't care about all that. I'm evaluating it based on the script writing and the acting and.
I'm in the same. I don't really like action movies the best because they're all just like the same and predictable. Like car chases, like don't do it for me. You know, because they're all the same. It's like I don't care about the fancy like flips and crashes and blah blah blah. I rather have just like a cleverly written script with good acting. Like that's why I love like The Departed and things like that.
Yep.
And I love a good like just mystery where it like just kind of has a twists and turns and things like that. Have you seen No Country for Old Men?
Of course, read the book as well.
That's great.
Cormac McCarthy is one of my favorite authors.
That's great.
Yeah, I Cormac McCarthy, All the Pretty Horses, and No Country for Old Men, two of my favorite movies. I've actually studied film at a pretty high degree. I almost got a minor in film at the University of Montana. I took 2 400 level acting/film analysis classes. They were both very rewarding and fun, and that really got me into film. But Black Swan, I mentioned that one. I mean, it's not necessarily like my favorite type of story or whatever. I just thought it was such a well-crafted and beautiful movie.
I've seen it, but it was so long ago.
You need to watch it again.
See, I have a weird memory in the fact that like I can watch a movie and then I'll forget like most of it after like a couple of years. So then it's kind of great because then I can rewatch it and it's almost like I watched it for the first time. So like, I will remember if it's like good or not, but I won't remember like all the specific details. But DiCaprio and Denzel are my 2 favorite. Those are my dudes.
I'm very into the guys that are the directors too, because I think that there's certain directors that are they have very consistent films. Martin Scorsese, who directed The Departed, I've never seen a Scorsese movie I didn't like.
Yep.
I've never seen a Francis Ford Coppola movie I didn't like.
Coen Brothers?
The Coen Brothers are pretty good. David Aronofsky is probably one of, if not my favorites. He is the guy behind Black Swan. He also was the director and producer of The Wrestler, The Fountain, Requiem for a Dream, and Pi. So he doesn't have a long list, but certainly some of my favorite movies as well. We're going to get back to some movies later on because this is fun to talk about. But time now for our ESPN Roundtable, presented proudly by Paradise Falls. Are you playing in some sort of spring sport league? You got adult soccer going on, or maybe you're doing softball, or maybe you're having golf league, whatever. You want to wet your whistle before, after you get done with your activities? Head on over to Paradise Falls. They still have the best late happy hour in town from 9 to 11 Monday through Thursday. You can get half-price cocktails and $3 beers. And they're keeping the kitchen open until 11 now that it's into the later daylight hours as well. Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street in Missoula, the proud presenter of the ESPN Roundtable. All right, Rainey, we haven't actually talked about this, so I'm going to set the stage for you here real quick. This comes from sort of the thing that triggered this thought was B.J. Robertson, who was the director of high school operations as well as special teams coordinator at Montana State the last 5 years, former head coach at Montana Western. He left the Bobcat football program, I guess, probably about a month ago. A guy that's very well liked around the state of Montana. The position that he held for Jeff Choate in being sort of the liaison for all the high school coaches in Montana was, I think, an important one. Choate, when he first got to Montana State, he threw down the gauntlet and basically made a bunch of proclamations about a variety of things, but he crafted the narrative so well of how important it is to dominate the rivalry with the University of Montana every single day. And he had all his hashtags, beat the sky, own the state, and all his different things. And then he beat the Grizz 4 years in a row, which gave a lot of his provocative talk some validity because it wasn't just talking. They got it done on the field too. So that's part of it. But then there was also a lot of talk about who was winning the in-state recruiting battle. I think that there was a lot of the narrative gravitating toward Montana State winning the in-state recruiting battle each year. But I got to thinking about this as far as guys from the state of Montana that play for the two Montana schools. And I was thinking, because with B.J. Robertson leaving, there's been this narrative that that's really going to kill the Cats. How are the Cats going to keep up with in-state recruiting without Coach Robertson as this director of high school relations? So then I was thinking, okay, over the last 5 years then, who are the recruits that the Cats really just got that they wouldn't have got otherwise if it wasn't for BJ, or they wouldn't have got otherwise because of their winning the rivalry game? And I got to thinking that there's very few guys that really were battle sort of recruits at all that either school got. Most of the guys were sort of routed the way that they were going to go anyways. And then I also started thinking about who are some of the best guys from the state of Montana that have come out of Montana to play for the Montana schools in the last couple of years. And maybe start thinking, well, that's actually kind of crazy because it's not as many as you might think. And we're going to get into maybe the why. But rather than go through every single guy from the state of Montana that's signed with the two schools over the last 5 years, I mean, that would take a full 10 minutes to read the list because it's 50-plus guys on each side. But we'll just talk just briefly about some of the guys that have signed as part of the in-state recruiting battle, and then talk about what this actually means, and is this a huge loss for Montana State? BJ is a great guy, but is Montana State's in-state recruiting going to completely fall off just because Coach Robertson's not there and because Bobby Houck is back in Montana? We'll get into that here in a minute. But right now, when you look at Montana State, their best guy for Montana is obviously Troy Anderson. He's a Dillon, Montana native, but he's also a legacy guy for the Bobcats. I think that there was really no chance that Troy Anderson was going to go anywhere in-state but Montana State. If he was going to go somewhere besides Montana State, he wasn't going to stay in state. He was going to go out of state. So Troy Anderson, while is certainly the best player from Montana that's in the rivalry right now, I don't necessarily consider that a huge recruiting win. I think that Troy Anderson's going to go to Montana State, whether Jeff Choate or Rob Ash or Brett Vegan or B.J. Robertson or anybody is there. So we'll shelf Troy Anderson. But then you look at a couple of the other best guys from Montana that play for Montana State. Chase Benson is All-American candidate, a defensive tackle. He's a Helena, Montana guy. I don't really know if Montana even offered him out of high school. So even if he wasn't a legacy Montana State guy, I don't know if that's necessarily a recruiting win, but we will give Benson credit. He's a good player at Montana State, has a chance to be great. Other impact guys that Jeff Choate and his staff brought in, Michael Jobin, who has since retired. He just wanted to move on. He graduated, and so he just wanted to move on with his life. But he started at middle linebacker for a couple of years for the Cats. Kyle Finch is expected to be a starter out of Dillon this year. Jared Padmus was the starting punter for the Bobcats. But then you look at the last couple recruiting classes for MSU. Nolan Askelson, a linebacker for Billings Seniors. He's a pretty good player. He's probably going to be a high-rep guy this year for the Bobcats. And then most of the other guys, especially from the last couple of recruiting classes, have either already flamed out or are yet to make an impact. Probably the best guy from the 2018 recruiting class is Ryan Lonergan, but he's hardly seen the field, and many of the other Montana guys aren't with the program. You talk about the next year's recruiting class, those guys are all redshirt freshmen, so none of them have really gotten a chance to make an impact. Well, then you look at the Grizz. Who do you think? I mean, think of the Grizz roster right now, and think of the Montana guys. Really, Jace Lewis is the only real,
but he wasn't even like
star,
a highly, but
right? And the Cats didn't really recruit him. He was not a highly recruited guy. He was a partial scholarship guy out of Townsend, Montana. And then you look across the board.
So, I mean, Sulzer.
Gabe Sulzer is probably the most talented and the most prestigious recruit they've gotten in the last handful of years. But he's also a legacy guy. His dad and uncle played for the Grizz. His sister ran track here. So I don't think he was really ever going to go to Montana State either. The Deming twins, who, by the way, you just heard in the Sports Center, they did transfer from Montana. They now found a new home at Illinois State, a couple Billings West products. That was a good win for the Grizz because those guys are both solid players, and you get 2 for 1 with them being twins. And the Cats did recruit the Deming twins, so that was sort of a good recruiting win. But by and large, most of the Montana guys that the Grizz have gotten too have not been. I mean, Mitch Roberts is a pretty good player, but his mom played hoops at Montana. He's a Missoula guy.
What about Marcus Wellnell?
Marcus Wellnell, the Cats didn't recruit Marcus Wellnell that hard, but he's developed into a good player. So we're going to get to that part in a minute because I do think that there's a distinct element of the head coach wanting to develop the Montana guys. Choate was really good at recruiting them, but also they had massive attrition of guys from Montana leaving Montana State. It's sort of an undertold story of the Choate era at Montana State. Bobby Hauck is so good at developing guys like Marcus Wellnell, the under-recruited guy from Helena, who then becomes a great player.
Yeah. I feel like I've always wanted to do this, but I just gotten, as a TV guy, sometimes we are more on a daily deadline.
Sure.
And so it's harder to do big picture stuff. Have you ever done just like taken the full recruiting class for each team and then like 4 years later, graded it out?
Yep. I have done that. We should do a podcast on that.
Because that's what we should do.
For sure.
Because it's so hard. And because then you see, I'm looking at some of the Montana guys on this roster.
Mm-hmm.
And like Dylan Cook is one of the better players from Montana, but he wasn't an original.
He wasn't a recruit. There was no recruiting battle there at all.
So I think it's fascinating. It would be fascinating to more so just go back to this senior class when they were that recruiting class 5 years ago or whatever, and look at both initial recruiting classes, and you can go through each guy and give them like a A, B, C, D, whatever grade or whatever,
right.
And just kind of like add them up and do like an aggregate scoring and see which actual recruiting class was better 5 years later, because that's the only way that you could like truly grade it, because like some of these guys, like you bring in a Jace Lewis, like as a recruiting, you're like, oh yeah, okay, cool, like a walk on from like a small school, and he ends up being an all Big Sky player, while Gabe Sulzer will probably have an impact now. He hasn't really had much of an impact in his career yet.
For sure. Well, and one of the things that's been sort of just bad happenstance is a lot of the best guys from Montana have gotten really hurt. Like Baloo Chapman from Bozeman, who went to Montana State, that was a big recruit when they got him. He's a Bozeman guy, and his dad played for the Cats, but he was still AA Player of the Year. But then he only makes it 2 years because he gets so hurt. A guy like Keaton Anderson is the AA Player of the Year for Billings Senior, who went to Montana State. He gets really hurt. But we've seen it at Montana, too. I mean, some of their best – Trace Letexier, when he was first coming up before he got hurt, was a really good player, and then he got hurt. Jed Nagler was a big recruit out of Whitefish. He got hurt. Devin Mamua out of Billings Senior was a big recruit. He got hurt.
Or they're like – they bring in these like the athletes, and they don't exactly find a position or a home. Like Garrett Graves comes to mind as like a fantastic athlete.
Troy Anderson is one of the greatest athletes in the history of Montana, and he still hasn't found a home.
Yeah, but at least he's been able to see the field.
Oh, for sure. He's been an all-conference player.
But Graves hasn't really been able to get on the field yet.
For sure.
But he probably could be an impact guy, just given the opportunity. And you also see some, Montana quarterback, like the Cats they're mostly young now, but they had, some of them left, like a ton of Montana quarterbacks on that roster that could be good, but they might not play, So that's like, you always bring in sometimes these athletes from Montana, and they sometimes just don't find their role yet.
Nuanez now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula, SWX Montana Television. I'm Colter Nuanez. Shaun Rainey from SWX Montana joining me in studio. It's our ESPN Roundtable discussing the ins and outs of the in-state recruiting battle. How much does it actually matter for Montana State? ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls of Missoula. I have some theories here. So first of all, the initial thesis here from my thinking about this is that the number one thing that Montana State did during the Jeff Choate era in terms of winning the in-state recruiting battle was talking about how they did. Because the actual results of what it yielded them is marginally impactful. Most of Montana State's best players and great success have actually been out-of-state guys. I know in-state people don't like hearing that. We're going through it right now with the Lady Grizz, and all the Lady Grizz fans just flipping out because multiple girls are no longer on the roster that are from Montana. But I also think there's a real element here, twofold. One, there's a phenomenon that has happened that I don't really understand. It used to be that there would be between 4 and as many as 8 Division I caliber offensive linemen in the state of Montana every year. Those were the big recruiting battles. Like you look at the 2001 national championship team from Montana, every single starter on the offensive line was from a small town in Montana. You look at some of the great Bobcat offensive lines. So many of those guys were from the state of Montana. Now, honestly, the best offensive line recruit from the state of Montana in the last 5 years has been Jake Sessions, and he was out of Colstrip, Montana. The Cats got him. He was the only full ride guy from both sides, and he ended up starting half a dozen games at Montana State, and then graduated and is not going to play his COVID year. And other than that, I mean, the two best University of Montana offensive linemen right now are one, Colton Kynes, who was just a massive project when he got there, and he's become a pretty solid.
The other one was a quarterback.
Yeah, right. Until Cook was a quarterback, an NAIA quarterback at the Frontier Conference, and now he's a starting right tackle, right? And Montana State, they don't have an offensive lineman from Montana that's a starter. That's crazy. That phenomenon is wild, and I think that does impact what we're talking about here because half of these guys that I'm looking at are listed as receivers and running backs and stuff. Those guys aren't going to really make impacts because you can go get Isaiah Fonse and Marcus Knight. So the kid from Huntley Project's going to have a hard time seeing the field.
It's going to be your linemen. It's going to be your linebackers. It's going to be your tight ends.
Right. I just want to know what happened to the linemen, though. Why? What is this? Part of it, I thought my brother Brooks knew I was from SkylineSportsMT.com. I thought he had a good theory. Part of it is I think that kids these days, they want to play all the spots. I mean, obviously everybody has always wanted to be the pass catcher or whatever. But I think it was a lot more common for guys when they knew pretty early that they weren't going to be able to break the rotation at a skill position, that they had just become an offensive lineman. And I think that there's a lot of guys that probably would have been offensive linemen in past years that now aren't offensive linemen. Guys that,
or they just don't play football.
Sure, that's true too.
Like, hey, if I'm not going to be at least like a tight end where I might be able to catch some balls, and I think overall across the country, I think football numbers are down a little bit, and so like some of those guys might not even be playing.
Bobby Houck and Craig Paulson. Craig Paulson's from Plentywood. He's former defensive coordinator in Montana. I asked Bobby this, and Bobby passed this theory from Paulson along to me. I thought it was very interesting. The east side of the state of Montana is almost exclusively based on agriculture. Towns like Sydney and Miles City and Malta and Glasgow and all along the High Line, Havre, all that. Two things have happened to those towns. One, not a lot of people are moving there or moving back there because there's limited opportunities in terms of making careers. There's also, because of the nationalization and the domestic farming, it needs to be, at its essence, regulated by the government so that you don't have surpluses or famines, so that you can keep the supply chain of a national food supply going at all times. Therefore, crop production programs, crop production land are pretty common now. In other words, if you're a farmer with a big wheat farm, a lot of times the government is paying you to not farm half your land. Therefore, you need half as many people to work the land. So therefore, the population is going down. The other thing is that farming has had such a huge technological influx to it. So now you also need just less people to work on the farm, whether it's, it used to be if you owned a farm, you had a bunch of kids because you need people to work on the farm. And now you don't need that because it's so much more electronic. You can, as a farmer, you can do your whole field by yourself with the tractor because they're so much more efficient. And so this is all caused for those towns to have significantly less people, and then significantly less young people, significantly less kids which then in turn makes the prospects significantly less as well. But then you also wonder, I also think, though, that part of that is just an excuse, because I think that there has to just be some big, strong kids in Sydney and Malta and stuff still, right? I mean, the Miles City, like, there has to be, right? I don't understand how there's not more guys that are coming out of the state of Montana on the lines, particularly on the offensive line.
I don't know. That's an interesting theory. I just think some of them might not just be playing football anymore, because they didn't just disappear.
Sure. I want to know. I haven't seen a kid like Taryn Hillsland or Colin Dow or Levi Horn, some of the guys we went to school with. Those dudes were ready-made. Like, you could see Colin Dow was going to be a 4-year starter for the Grizz since he was a sophomore in high school. Like, you just could see it. Well, I don't know what happened.
Now,
to those guys.
like a Dylan Rollins doesn't even stay in the state.
Right.
So.
Well, that's the other thing is, but you can tell from the highest level, because Dylan Rollins is the first guy from Montana to go to the FBS Strength Center in, I believe, 7 years. It used to be that the best lineman in the state of Montana was getting offered by everybody. Like the whole, like the Ryan boys out of Billings. They're going. Pat Ryan went to Notre Dame, man. Like, you guys were getting recruited by Nebraska and Stanford and high-level FBS, and now they're hardly getting recruited by Montana State. So I don't know. I think that we could really go down the rabbit hole and talk about the softening of the youth of our society, but we won't. We will not digress to that level. But here nor there, I guess my to put a bow on this, my thesis here is that the in-state recruiting battle is always going to be prominent, but I think that Montana State saying that they've beaten Montana the last several years is more it's more a narrative and a promotional tool than it is an actual fact. And even if it is a fact, it's not as impactful of a fact as maybe people want you to believe. It's Nuanez Now. It is the ESPN Roundtable, presented proudly by Paradise Falls of Missoula. Paradise Falls, NBA playoffs are on. They'll be showing all the games down there. There's 3 games on tonight. They have an early and late happy hour on weeknights. So head on down to Paradise Falls, half-price cocktails, $3 beers, half-price appetizers during happy hour as well. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, 30 big screen TVs, 18 draft beers, 3621 Brook Street in Missoula, Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot. Does Brooks Koepka really hate Bryson DeChambeau? Rainey thinks it's a complete WWF storyline. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Back after this. Blaine McElmurray knows what you can achieve through hard work as an athlete from a small town in Montana. The Troy native rose up to become an All-American safety for the Grizzlies on UM's 95 National Championship team before spending time playing in the NFL. McElmurray has also used those values in his work at McElmurray Homes. Since 2003, McElmurray Homes has helped contract and subcontract some of the Garden City's finest houses. McElmurray Homes is committed to offering quality custom service, quality products, and the best prices throughout any project. And McElmurray Homes is also a proud supporter of high school athletes around the state of Montana. Although it might sound daunting, getting your wisdom teeth out is just a part of life. No matter when you might need your wisdom teeth extracted, Dr. Gene Morris at Oral Surgical Associates in Missoula is the man you need to see. Dr. Morris has extensive experience and a reputation as a surgeon who's both gentle and detailed, and will make your wisdom teeth extraction process seem like a breeze. When you need your wisdom teeth removed, put your trust in Dr. Gene Morris at Oral Surgical Associates of Missoula.
Hi, I'm Montana Secretary of State Christy Jacobson. Are you registered to vote? If not, you can find the voter registration application at sosmt.gov or contact your local election office by noon the day before the election. If you're not sure you're registered to vote, check out your status at sosmt.gov. Make sure you're registered to vote by noon the day before the election. Thank you for voting, Montana.
The Missoula Sports Barn is now open. Formerly known as Missoula Indoor Sports Arena, the Missoula Sports Barn is under new ownership and has some very exciting leagues and summer camps starting right away for youth, high school, and adults. Visit MissoulaSportsBarn.com to register for soccer, flag football, lacrosse, dodgeball, volleyball, wiffle ball, and cornhole leagues. Coming in July, there will be 2 brand new state-of-the-art Foresight Golf GC Hawk golf simulators that read righties and lefties without moving equipment. Visit MissoulaSportsBarn.com to learn more and register today.
Everybody knows that high school sports generate suspense, excitement, and drama.
They also generate higher grade point averages, stronger work habits, and greater self-esteem.
Everybody knows that high school sports give us more value for our entertainment dollar.
They also give us leaders committed to strengthening communities right here in Montana. The true value of playing sports in school can't be measured in wins and losses or dollars and cents. Studies show that participation in sports, along with other extracurricular activities, is one of the best ways to teach leadership, cooperation, accountability, and other invaluable life skills. Don't just stand on the sidelines. Encourage the young people you know to get in the game. When you do, you'll be helping them get ahead in life. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Montana High School Association and the Montana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Deming twins have found a new home, while the Lady Grizz have a new Division I transfer. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. Bryson Deming and Braden Deming, a pair of redshirt juniors who prepped at Billings West before playing 2017, 2018, and 2019 seasons at Montana, have declared they're transferring to Illinois State. Bryson, Montana's starting tight end in 2019, caught 18 passes for 195 yards and 3 touchdowns in UM's last fall season on the gridiron. Braden, a 6'4", 258-pound defensive lineman, notched 2.5 sacks and 4.5 tackles for loss while cracking the defensive line rotation for the Grizz in 2018 and 2019. Illinois State's coaching staff includes former Grizz coaches Brian Hendricks, who coaches defensive line, and Travis Niekamp, who is the defensive coordinator. Hendricks coached Braden his first year at Montana, while Niekamp was Bryson's position coach when Bob Stitt was UM's head coach. Former Montana strength and conditioning coach Matt Nicholson is also part of Illinois State head coach Brock Spack's staff. The Montana women's basketball program has added a transfer from East Carolina. Katrina Tazinski, a 5'9" guard who played for the Pirates for 2 seasons, signed a scholarship agreement to join a team looking to fill as many as 8 roster spots after the hiring of new head coach Brian Holsinger. And finally, the Missoula Paddleheads moved to 3-0 on the young season, earning a sweep of the Great Falls Voyagers after taking both games Monday's doubleheader. For more on the game, tune into Nuanez now at 4 p.m. on ESPN Missoula.
With the lights out, hanging on, hanging in bed. With the lights out, almost alone. If it wasn't for the neon, 4 more minutes till the sunrise, but I'm not ready. Damn you, time. 4 more minutes till the headache, but I'm not ready.
2020. Thank you for introducing me to Young and Sick, Tommy. You want to find all the great new music that all the kids are listening to? Tune into the new show, 103.3 The Trail, from 6 to 7 every Tuesday night. Tommy will bring you home and get you educated on all the trendy music from around the world of, well, what would you call this? Is this like light rock?
This, I don't know, man. Like, I would just call it like modern millennial pop thing.
See,
You know?
I haven't heard. I haven't been familiar with a single song Tommy's played today.
That's because
Tommy, you're supposed to play some hip hop on Wednesday.
Okay, Shaun, I'm sorry I didn't play
No.
Don't Stop Believin' for you.
Rainey only listened to music when he was in 8th grade, so those are the only songs he
Kinda
actually
true.
knows.
Kind of true.
I don't listen to music and I don't read books. So I'm very cultured.
He's still fun to take road trips with. I love it. Nuanez now 102.9 ESPN, Missoula, Shaun Rainey, professing all of his deficiencies here with me, Colter Nuanez. We do this every Wednesday together. I do this every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. on ESPN Missoula, as well as around the great state of Montana on SWX Montana. Speaking of ESPN Missoula and SWX Montana, we are proud presenters of the Missoula Paddleheads for the summer. So all the many of the home games will be simulcast on both SWX and ESPN Radio. All of the games, home and away, will be here on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Tonight's game, however, has been canceled. A lot of rain, as you can probably tell if you're in the Garden City right now. We've had rain pretty much relentlessly since Sunday, and so the field's a little wet, so they canceled tonight's game. And so they will be back at it with a doubleheader tomorrow. So that will start at 6 p.m. So Nuanez now run right up into the doubleheader down there at Ogren Park, Allegiance Field. On Saturday, I believe it was, Brooks Koepka was doing a post-round interview at the PGA Championship. He was being typical Brooks. arrogant and too cool for school. But in the midst of giving an answer, Bryson DeChambeau walked by and muttered something, and that caused Brooks to completely lose his train of thought and then go into a string of profanities and then ask the reporter to then re-ask the question. The video of this then leaked onto Twitter, as everything does this day and age, and it's caused quite a stir. A lot of people love it. They think it's pretty funny. I think it's great for the game of golf. But Rainey thinks that this is a complete shtick. You think it's all staged.
It is.
Why?
Okay, well, number one, okay, so there's I'm looking up the details right now. So there's a $40 million purse that will split between 10 golfers to whoever generates the most attention on social media and moves the needle for golf. So obviously that's a huge and the number one player gets $8 million. So whoever moves the needle between social and gets people talking about golf the most, or that they deem however they're going to judge this, gets $8 million. Well, what better way than to just start a beef between two of the biggest, strongest players on the tour that are, kind of young, and Brooks has got his whole pardon my take crowd, and Bryson's kind of the science-y nerd that beefed up and is now huge, and he's kind of the easy guy to make fun of now, everyone likes making fun of Bryson, and so I think it's just started out as a shtick, and I think now they're just in on it, and they're just rolling with it because they know that if they both talk about each other, then it's going to generate money for all of them. It's kind of when this reminds me of when celebrities sometimes get married and divorced, and it's kind of planned, or they have these beefs on purpose to just get their name out there and generate some buzz and stuff. That's what this is. I think it's all fake. I think that Brooks might genuinely be annoyed by Bryson, and that's where it kind of started. But I think now they're both just kind of have a wink agreement, and they just kind of run with it. Did you see the tweets today? The tweets today were so corny and totally.
Well, I think these guys are corny, man.
I don't know. They're
pro golfers.
I think
how many professional golfers are there that have ever really been attached to reality?
I don't know.
Because the chances of you coming from rags to riches in the professional golf game are so small. You almost have to grow up from. You have to live a very privileged life from the beginning. So I think all these guys are very self-centered and lack self-awareness, and I think that's part of what makes them great. I mean, Brooks Koepka's mentality and how arrogant he is why he's such a good golfer.
Listen, man, if there was not $40 million on the line to generate attention like this, I would maybe not have that theory. But if you're telling me that these guys that Brooks Koepka will get $8 million because he's going to be the most talked about golfer because of all of this.
Sure.
He's going to get $8 million. This is all staged, man. It's not real. But it's still fun.
Unfortunately, pretty much everything in America is about money, and only about money. And it's had a at least tangible, if not detrimental, influence on pretty much every element of the wholesomeness of anything that we have in our society. So we could go all the way down the rabbit hole as far as my cynicism towards all of said things. But we won't. Instead, we're going to take one more break, and then we're going to talk all things NBA to take you home here on your Wednesday. It's Nuanez now, 102.9 ESPN Missoula.
What do Missoulians do best? They support their local stores. Come support your local pharmacy at Palmer's Drug. Palmer's Drug is a retail and compounding pharmacy that is the alternative to big box chain pharmacies. You can expect short wait times, free medication shipping, and friendly service at Palmer's Drug. Located at 918 Southwest Higgins in Missoula, Palmer's Drug is the most convenient way to get your prescriptions in the Garden City. Come in and discover how they can serve your pharmacy needs.
The world of real estate is always evolving. That's more true now than ever. If you are a longtime Missoulian that is looking to upgrade or downsize, it might be the best time yet to sell. If you're in the position to buy something new, today might be the best time to buy. And no matter what questions you have when it comes to residential or commercial real estate, Mike Nugent and the professionals at Berkshire Hathaway in Missoula have your answers. To find out what Mike can do for you, give him a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
You hear the term small business all the time, but what does it mean? The answer is, it depends. Whether you're a one-woman show or employ over 100 people, at Farmers State Bank, your business is never small to us. Find the tools for success at any Farmers State Bank location or check us out online at farmersebank.com. Farmers State Bank, helping businesses succeed since 1907. Member FDIC.
At the Montana Club, our goal is to create a menu of mouth-watering food with variety to satisfy any craving. From the garden fresh ingredients in our salads to our succulent, perfectly grilled Montana Club Angus steaks, we take pride in every detail that goes into preparing your food. Top off your meal with a premium cocktail, wine, or microbrew. Come as you are and satisfy your craving with our home-style breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
My name is Blake. I received the heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
While some bike shops are out of inventory, Big Sky Bikes customers are saying they have the best inventory in town, with new bikes and service parts arriving daily. Big Sky Bikes has been busy ordering, back ordering, and reordering to keep new bikes and apparel arriving daily. Specialized Pearl Izumi and Fox apparel all 20% off now through Saturday, June 5th. Buy any in-stock tire for $30 and up and get your second tire 50% off. Select Specialized tires 20% off while supplies last. Big Sky Bikes has the best inventory in town. 809 East Front Street or visit bigskybike.com.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Go on, leave me breathless. Come on.
I had to play something Shaun was
He's just trolling me now.
Do you think she actually sang?
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
I mean, that was the whole thing, right? That Shania Twain she's married to Mutt Lange and she was just a studio creation. She was the Milli Vanilli of 90s country music.
Shaun has indoctrinated you. Pop music is not a shtick, okay? She's good. She's talented.
Well, someone's talented. She might be lip syncing.
I don't know, man.
I don't either. Shania Twain. What a phenomenon. Did you know Shania Twain? I believe this is a real stat. I think that Shania Twain is the greatest selling solo female artist in the history of music.
Not surprised because she is a real living person with talent. She's not a robot.
So is Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin and Diana Ross, who are all significantly more talented than Shania Twain.
So why aren't
Beyonce?
Beyonce's got to be probably climbing.
Got to be there.
Different analysis. You'd probably have to do sort of an apples to oranges because people don't really buy records like they did in the 1990s, right?
Fake. False. Yes, they do.
No, you're right. But it used to be the number one barometer for the success of an album was how many albums did the actual album sell. And now people buy the singles or they're streaming it or they got the mixtapes or whatever. So it's more about YouTube downloads and Spotify hits and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Nuanez Now, your one-stop shop for all things pop culture analysis. We sometimes talk about sports, but we've been talking mostly movies and music today.
It's been great.
It's been a great show. Shaun, Rainey, SWX Montana Television joining me. Colter Nuanez. Got Tommy Evans, main man, in the back, making sure that Shania Twain gets on the ESPN radio as much as possible.
Do you remember when we interviewed Rebecca Black on this show?
Oh, there's no doubt. Do we still have the letter that she wrote us?
She wrote me a letter.
Your letter, right?
Yeah, I have it.
I've never really felt like more of a I don't even know what word I can say. There's no appropriate word I can get away with by saying. I've never felt so bad for making fun of somebody so much as when you had this girl on the show. So for those that don't remember, Rebecca Black, long story short, she somehow had some money in her family, and for her 14th birthday, she wanted to make a song, and she made perhaps the worst song in the history of the world, and it was so bad that it became a YouTube phenomenon and a sensation, and mostly because people were making fun of her. And then years later, so then Tommy used to play this horrific song. Here we go. Yep, this is it. So we played this on Tutel and Nuanez for a couple years on Fridays. And then all of a sudden, one day, we got a signed Rebecca Black record in the mail. Then Tommy got a personal letter from Rebecca Black telling him, thank you so much for bringing me to a new audience and putting me on ESPN radio, and I feel so good. And then all of a sudden, Rebecca Black was on our show, and I'm sitting here having to ask her legitimate questions about her music career, which I've done nothing but make fun of for the last 2 years. And it was just really, that was a great and also embarrassing moment. Thanks, Tommy. Thank you for setting that up.
Anything for you, Coulter, and I will especially remind you about this in the darkest moments of your life moving forward.
Her new album is much better. She's gotten much improved. She is somewhat talented. Good job by Rebecca Black. All right, Rainey, let's talk a little NBA real quick. First of all, 3 games tonight. The Wizards and 76ers are already going. Philly's up 1-0 in that one. The Hawks and Knicks just tipped here about 20 minutes ago. Atlanta's up 1-0 in that one. And then the Jazz and Grizzlies play at 8 p.m. tonight. The Grizzlies up 1-0 or the top-seeded Utah Jazz. So let's start with the top seeds. Are the Jazz and the 76ers the shakiest 1 seeds we've seen in the league in a little while?
It's got to be up there. I mean, this is such a funky, regular season coming off like the short off season. Not a lot of people play. I mean, if Donovan Mitchell wasn't hurt, I don't think we'd say the Jazz were, because they were really good all year, and they are still good. And I think the biggest thing about the playoffs is you can't be a prisoner of the moment. And
sure.
And I'm obviously a big sports gambler, and I love the NBA playoffs. Love it because the general public just overreacts so much.
Yeah.
To games in a series.
For sure.
And I think that I love the zigzag theory in the NBA playoffs. It is just such a thing. Like Portland looked like they were going to sweep the Nuggets after game 1.
Right.
It didn't even look like, they cannot handle the backcourt of Lillard and McCollum, and the Blazers look so much better, and then the Nuggets come out and just run them in game 2.
For sure.
The Lakers, they looked horrible. Anthony Davis looked like he wasn't even an all-star player in game 1, and then the Lakers, win, decently easy in game 2.
Keeping gas in the tank is so important in a 7-game series too. And I think that's a lot of why these games do become lopsided, because if you have the wrong game plan or the wrong spark or the wrong energy, or it's just not flowing that night, a lot of times in the NBA, the coaches will just shut it down and say, hey, we play this exact same team in 2 days. We're not going to burn out. We're not going to sit here and play our superstars 40 minutes to lose by 12. We'll just go ahead and lose by 30 because we'll bring back fresher legs the next time we play.
I am slightly concerned about the Jazz because they just have the chemistry unknown.
For sure. And also Donovan Mitchell being in and out of the lineup is tough.
There's some weird stuff going on there because I guess he was expecting to play in game 1 and the team sat him down and he was not happy about that. I've been hearing some things within some people that think that within NBA circles that there's just some funky stuff going on there, and it's kind of an awkward situation. So that has me a little bit curious to see how that plays out. And obviously he's going to be playing. I think he's going to be playing tonight for the first time in a long time. So it's kind of hard after sitting out that long and then just jumping straight into playoffs because it's just a different intensity. And the Grizzlies have some guards that will get after you.
For sure.
Dylan Brooks is...
God, I hate Dylan Brooks.
He's one of those guys... this is why, He's one of those guys that has, he's he's overly confident
for sure.
And which is a good thing when he's playing well, 100%. And a terrible thing when he's playing bad.
For sure, but
now he's in the groove, and so it's a good thing.
And he guys around the league don't like him and also think he sucks. And so then when he's not sucking, it makes guys even more mad.
That frustrates them. Yeah,
that's the perfect type of playoff guy. The guys that are just okay, but when they start playing way above their head and they make the other team so mad. It's the Patrick Beverleys of the world, the Dylan Brookses, the Lou Dorts, guys when they just start playing out of their minds. And it's not only good for their team, but it also makes the other team so pissed off that they start playing bad. It's the Dennis Rodman theory,
yeah, but
right?
I don't know when all of a sudden Dylan Brooks just turned into a scorer, shooting 20. He shot 26, 29 times or something like that. I know. When did this happen?
Unbelievable. So I don't know. I think the Jazz will find a way to survive that series, but I don't think that they're a real contender to come out of the West. I just don't think that I think they're good, but I just don't think they're that talented.
The West is so much fun.
It is so much fun
in this first round. It is awesome.
What do you think of the? So I think that the Blazers Nuggets series is the best series. I think it wasn't that great.
I think Lakers Suns is the best.
Those are both good series. But what do you think of Dallas taking a 2-0 lead last night?
But this is why every single series in the NBA playoffs right now is must see except for one. Only one of them is not, and that's the Sixers Wizards series. Who cares about that one?
Right.
The Sixers are going to sweep them or beat them in 5. But even the Nets, who are probably going to sweep or beat the Celtics in 5, this is kind of the first stretch where we're seeing the three guys playing together in Harden, Irving, and Durant. They haven't played many games together. So even though that series I don't think is going to be very competitive, it's still interesting to watch because they're probably they're the favorites to win the title, and they haven't played that much together. So it's interesting to see how they look in the playoffs.
We're going to talk all sorts of NBA for pretty much the next 2 months because it's the best thing going right now. We'll do that tomorrow. We're also going to talk a variety of other things. New Missoula Big Sky basketball coach, Jace Henderson. She's going to come on by, former Lady Grizz, both player and coach. She's going to swing by, talk to us a little bit. And we'll also have a couple other guests I'm still working on. I'm still trying to get the schedule lined out for tomorrow. But no Paddleheads game tonight. Nuanez now all week, though. We'll be back at it tomorrow at 4 p.m. So we'll see you then. 102.9 ESPN Missoula. For Shaun, Rainey, SWX Montana, I'm Colton Nuanez. Have yourself a great Wednesday evening.
Oh, I love family road trips. The wind in my ears.
Good dog.
Treats in my mouth. And peace of mind, knowing we went to Les Schwab for our tires, brakes, and alignment. If we had gone to one of those cheap tire stores